Hi guys, just before World Cup here, wanted to tape this video. I'm headed down to World Cup here on Friday. Very excited. It's actually going to be the first time I've ever been to World Cup, and very pumped. So if you're coming to World Cup, check me out. I'll be at the TPX tent, hanging out with with DK and Kitty and Mike and Willie and the whole crew. So check out the TPX tent, obviously. But I wanted to make this quick video. I've been meaning to do it for a while, on two tests that we did. The second myth regulator test and the TPX stiffy barrel test. We'll start with the Gorilla Air, take two, if you will. It's interesting because the Gorilla Air one that we tested first had almost essentially no creep. Okay, 20 psi, whatever. Pretty minimal on the creep. But it was inconsistent as shit, and I explained to you why. And I think that regulator was running with far too much eye control, which can be any number of problems. But this regulator was almost the exact opposite. It was, well, I'm not going to say that because it still was pretty shoddy on the input-output ratio. It wasn't that it was inconsistent. Last time it was that it was inconsistent. This one is that it's unbalanced. So when the input pressure changes, the output pressure changes by a lot, and that's something we don't want. That's the reason why we have regulators, is to try and have as little input to output ratio as possible. Say for instance, a good regulator like a Palmer Pursuit shop stabilizer has like a 90 to 1. So if you change the input PSI by 90, the output PSI will change by 1. That's a pretty balanced regulator. That's a good thing. The second Gorilla Air did not exhibit very good balance. Again, there's a lot of reasons why this can be, but the most interesting thing that I thought was basically that these two regulators, identical in design, and both cleaned out, both fresh lube in them and everything like that. One was used and one was brand new, but what is interesting is that the design of the regulator didn't show a consistent trend, really, which leads me to think that a lot of cases in tank reg construction, that just having a good quality reg helps a long ways, which is something you don't see in paintball very often. A lot of times design has a lot more influence than quality of manufacture and quality of components. Like, the reason why I don't like the Shocker is because I think it's a flawed design. It's the reason why I don't like the Lux either, because I think certain design decisions that they made were wrong. And so it's not even that the original Shockers were made out of really crappy metal, or, you know, Smart Parts has kind of sometimes shoddy quality control. It was more so that I just didn't like the design. Whereas now we've kind of seen in tank regulators that the parts that go into it can have as much influence, if not more, than the design of the regulator itself, which is interesting. What that means is, if you want good performance out of your regulator, check it as much as you can. If you can get, you know, we got those big oil fill gauges for I think $15 a pop, and they're plus or minus 2%. So, you know, those would be a good investment. Check your regulator, make sure it's clean. Also, wash out your bottle, because what happens is, you know, there was a myth that CO2 is dirtier than compressed air, but really they're both compressed out of air, and so a lot of times the filters on compressors are not that good, and the tank inside can get water in it, can get all sorts of stuff in it, and then you're running all that garbage through your tank regulator and through your gun, and the first place it hits is your tank regulator. And so so clean your tank regulator and clean out your tank. Make sure though, when you do that, that you leave your tank bottle open in a dry environment. Leave it open with the regulator off for at least 24 hours before you put the regulator back on and fill it with air, because you don't want water and air mixing in a compressed environment, because water is very, very bad in that situation. Not dangerous, but it will rust everything instantly. It's very corrosive. And so that was the interesting thing there, that quality parts, and that even age could be a factor here. as much as design. I'm not going to say more than design, but as much as design. Just a good quality piece of equipment goes a long way in your tank regulator. Second thing that, well, first off, I also wanted to say that the way Dan Colby and the guys at Gorilla Air treated us was perfect. This is exactly what we want to see from companies. What we got when we got them the second myth regulator in, they gave us a quality control sheet that had all the tests that they had performed on it and all of the outputs whited out, which was brilliant. Because this is exactly what we want to see from manufacturers, is manufacturers who do our level of testing plus more. And the fact that he sent that out, it was kind of a little reminder saying, you know, you can't make up your results, which was never an issue, but I can understand there being, you know, it is the internet after all. There is some level of distrust. So first off, it was a you can't fabricate your results, which is fine with us because we don't do that. And it was Gorilla Air has in place some level of quality control testing that is comprehensive and is good. Listed on there was all sorts of goodies. I'm not going to publicly say that, Dan, so don't worry exactly what tests you perform, but it was perfect that he sent that because it means that things are going on behind the scenes here that are good quality technical things. So everything good there, although I frankly was surprised that the myth regulator did not perform better. I'm not sure why. It might be a design issue, but I was hoping that it would perform better than it did. It still had the issues that I had thought it would have. But Dan at Gorilla Air, still hats off to you on how to deal with punkworks and how to deal with what we do. We've seen some companies do not deal well with what we do, and we've seen some companies that definitely deal well with it, and Gorilla Air is one of those. So thanks to them. And another company, Stiffi, again, they know how to deal with us very well. It came up in the TPX barrel thread on TechPB that Casey, I think it was, from Stiffi, tested it and said it was 30% more accurate, and everybody on TechPB jumped on him instantly. Punkworks says this, Punkworks says that. Well, maybe they think that Punkworks says that, but we'll get into that in a future video. Anyway, they shipped us a TPX barrel to use on Bryce's new TPX, and we shot it. Bryce shot it in his backyard, and it shot roughly similar. We released that information, and you know, my hat's off to Stiffi for stepping up to the plate and sending us that. We're also going to be testing some other Stiffi products here. One of my favorites is the metal free. We're going to be testing that out harder, probably in December here. So that's pretty cool. Another thing I want to say that Stiffi does well is they make a 681 Stiffi Classic, which all of us underboarders really like those small bores. The other thing is they will actually make a 679 Stiffi. They have the tools to do it, but Casey said that he's been working there for 5 years or something like that, and no one has ever ordered a 679. So so hopefully we can change that. So hopefully one of us underboarders isn't cheap enough that we just buy some CP1 pieces. One of us buys a nice quality barrel there. Not to say that CP isn't quality barrels, but higher price tag barrel. Anyway, so just my hat's off to both those companies. They handled exactly what we do perfectly, and I hope to work with these two companies more in the future. They've done well, in my opinion, and I think the products have done well too. Even if we're, you know, slightly disproving some claims and things like that, I think their performance was certainly adequate. So yeah, just a quick video there. Check out the TechPB booth at World Cup, because I'll be hanging around for sure, and hope to see you guys all there. Yeah, talk to you later.